Hey boys and girls, and welcome to shorter attention what I was doing and things like that. Hopefully it helps you out, hopefully. What is going on, everybody? Sorry if I don't sound too energetic. I've been a little under the weather lately. So today I'm gonna go a little bit into chapter 2, but there's a ton of information in there that I'm gonna try and cover over the next couple videos. So I'm gonna split up what we've already covered, the stuff that we haven't covered yet. But as always, before I do that, this weekend at 8 o'clock at Smithson Baylor High School, we're doing the Melon Run 5K. I do still have 2 free tickets for that, so if you're a vet or a family member of the vet and you want to come run for free, let me or Erin know and we can facilitate that. We are still looking for teams to come play in our Tournament of Heroes. The teams are going to be $300 per, and we're looking for 12-person teams, guy and girl. And finally, we are still selling our t-shirts. They're $15 a shirt, and they do come in all sizes there. So chapter 2 basically covers what happened to me. And as you can tell by my handy dandy little board here, there's a ton of information that goes into that. So the stuff in black is stuff that we've already covered, and the stuff in red is stuff that I'm going to cover over the next couple videos. So basically, the book starts off with your trauma's root of honor, and it goes on in to say that evil will flourish if good men do nothing. You did something, and in doing so, you sacrificed a lot. Now this part is focused more on combat trauma, and with that there is a quote in here from an anonymous disabled Marine. The quote is, "PTSD is a disorder of warriors, not men and women who are weak or cowardly, but who followed orders and who at a young age put their feelings aside and performed unimaginable tasks. PTSD is the disorder of a good warrior." Again, basically, this part of the book is covering just combat trauma-related PTSD, but it goes into later on covering domestic violence and things like that. So another part of this is combat trauma, of course, and PTSD. And I'm just going to go ahead and read the first paragraph out of that. So it basically says, combat trauma, officially called deployment-related stress by the Army, describes a spectrum of distressing reactions a troop may have to the trauma of combat. These reactions can include anything from the normal, relatively mild tensions associated with the transition from deployment back to home and family life, such as reintegration issues, all the way up to severe conditions known as acute stress disorder, ASD, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. ASD and PTSD occur in those who have been exposed to a traumatic combat-related event or series of events which involve actual or threatened death or serious injury and caused an emotional reaction involving intense fear, panic, helplessness, or horror. These symptoms for both disorders are a persistent re-experiencing of the event or events through nightmares, intrusive thoughts, and dissociative episodes, obsessive avoidance of any stimuli associated with the event or events, and feeling keyed up, such as aroused, angry, sleepless, or jumpy, at all times. The differences between these two disorders is how long the symptoms persist. ASD generally lasts for 1 month, PTSD there is no time limit there. So basically, this is saying that if you've gone into combat, if you've been a part of war, it doesn't matter how involved you were. Everybody had their own sort of stress. Everybody, from the people that stayed on FOPs, the people that were on remote outposts and cops, had their own level of stress associated with their deployment. And basically, how that affected you, how that stress level affected you, and how it controlled your life when you came home is where these other symptoms come from, like ASD, PTSD, stuff like that. So the next thing, secondary trauma, is a video that I'm going to cover tomorrow. And basically, secondary trauma is what happens to your family members when you come home and they're trying to help you cope with your PTSD symptoms and your ASD symptoms and things like that, and they're trying to get you back into life. Your family members can also develop symptoms of this, and they can become scared of you. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit. All right, well, I'm going to go into that tomorrow. So the next part of this book, or this chapter, was PTSD is a common reaction to an uncommon event. It is your body's way of fighting to stay alive. Basically, you are not weak, weak-minded, or cowardly. you've been wounded. And there was a couple quotes in there. Just because you weren't necessarily wounded in a firefight or getting blown up or anything like that does not mean that your moral injury is not any less real. And so basically it says, but one can receive soul wounds that are as bad or worse than physical wounds, affecting you deeper and lasting longer than anything a gun could produce. Events can get past our normal defenses and severely disrupt our emotions, our souls and spirits, our faith, our self-identity, our confidence, our trust in other humans, our sense of security, and even our will to live. After this, we won't be able to cope, think, react, plan, and function in the ways we used to, at least not for a while. So basically this is saying with the moral injury, even though you may have never gotten blown up, never shot, never been in a firefight, there were things that you saw that challenged your belief system, that challenged your faith in whatever God you believed in, that challenged everything that you knew down to your very core. And so when you came home, you had a very tough time telling the difference between what was right and wrong. Basically, you had a tough time believing in the things you used to. I know I did. And there's also another quote in here that says, in the same way, neither you nor anyone else should expect that you can simply deny your very real wounds and take off running at full speed. You need time and treatment to bring about the healing. This is basically saying that to fix a moral injury, you need time and you need consistent effort. And you need to continue to do, seek treatment, go to your church, go talk to someone. It's key, talking to someone that'll push you into a healthy pattern to get you back in normal life. Because remember, the whole goal of any of this process is to get you back to living a normal life. So we've already covered some of the causes of PTSD, and that's, of course, is trauma. Now, this all depends on the intensity, the frequency, and the age of that trauma. Someone can experience one trauma that is 100 times more potent than someone else's trauma, or someone can experience 100 traumas that are 100 times less than that one person's trauma, but they both develop PTSD. So basically, it's not a pissing contest. Everybody's trying to get help for something that's happened to them. Now, a quote that this book goes on to say is approximately 75% of Americans have had a traumatic experience significant enough to cause PTSD, but only about 10 to 25% of those actually develop the disorder. Again, a lot of that is based on your belief system and how the trauma that you experienced affected your belief system. For example, if you're a domestic violence victim, you may very well have grown up in an abusive family, so whenever you're in a relationship that is abusive, it doesn't affect you as much because you're already desensitized to it. However, if you come from a family that was very loving and comforting and you bit into a relationship that was very violent and very, there was a lot of domestic violence in there, you could develop PTSD symptoms from that just because, again, you've never experienced it before. So the next part, the science of trauma reactions, is another video I'm going to cover, and that's basically what your body is going to go through whenever a traumatic event is happening to you. And then PTSD persistence is just another part of this where I'm going to talk about why you can't get over some things, why there's that hump there you can't seem to get over. We've already covered PTSD symptoms. In fact, I've spent a big chunk of time covering a lot of individual symptoms, but this one has a few that I'm going to cover. I'm going to give an overview, and then I'm going to cover each of the three, the re-experiencing symptoms, avoidance symptoms, and arousal symptoms, because they do have a different aspect of this. Basically, this is going to explain how these three symptoms affect your moral beliefs and your belief in God, anything like that. One of the things I haven't covered is traumatic brain injuries, or TBI. And the reason I haven't is because I'm not a doctor. I'm not clinically, qualified to do anything like that. I'm just reading out of the book. But basically, I'm going to cover what the book has to say about TBI. And then finally, the last part is the way out, part 1 and 2. And that's just going to go into, how you can start to find a way to overcome what has happened to you, to lead a better life, and then overcome what you think God has put you through, so that way you can rebuild a relationship with whatever God you believe in. So that's the overview of chapter 2. As you can tell, there's a ton of information in there. I've glanced over a lot of it, and hopefully over the next couple days I can get more in depth with some of these here in the red. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and knock out some push-ups here, and we'll get you guys out. Yeah. Still going down with the AC/DC. I gotta love that stuff. Hey guys, again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know what they are. And you know, I'll be more than happy to facilitate that and answer any questions. I love feedback. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Have a good one. Hello again, everybody. Just some administrative cleanup here. I forgot to incorporate a couple questions. With every chapter in the book, every section has its own little list of questions, and I'm going to try to include as many of these as I can into these videos, just so that if you're tracking at home, you know, you can write down these questions and then write down your responses to them, so that way you can track your own progress through this book. So hopefully, you know, hopefully that can help you out if you don't have the book at home. So basically, the three questions that I wanted to ask today are, number one, because of your trauma, what are some of the things you feel you sacrificed or were taken from you? You know, this could also be for folks that deployed. You know, while you were deployed, what are some of the things you feel were you sacrificed or taken from you? The second question is not really a question. It's just, I want you to take a moment to describe your soul wound to yourself, like how you view your moral injury, how you feel your relationship with, you know, whatever you believe in, God, scientific belief, whatever, how your trauma has affected that and how you view your soul wound today. And then finally, I want you to list the symptoms you are currently experiencing on a daily basis and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. We've covered all the symptoms, and you can go back and find the videos later on down my page. But basically, for you, this is for your own benefit, you know, just to go through and say, well, if I'm anxious, I'm at a 4 today, or if I'm anxious, I'm at a 7 today, something like that. And basically, on the scale of 1 to 10, 1 is it barely affects me, and 10 is I can barely function. So that's basically, these are the three questions that I'd like for you to, you know, to ask yourself and to answer on your own if you guys are tracking at home. And hopefully, as we continue on this book, we continue on this journey, you can find yourself, you know, building a better relationship with whatever God you believe in or whatever belief you believe in. And, you know, that's the whole goal that we're doing here. So again, thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.